Why are more people fleeing the big cities for smaller communities in 2024? The short answer is they're overcrowded, and the way we work these days means not everyone needs to live in a big city to have a decent job. This video isn't about population density as much as it's about the whole package. If we just did population density, this whole video would be the New York City metro area. This video is a look at cities that have way too many people for the city's issues that they're struggling with, like housing, infrastructure, traffic, crime, cost of living, and of course future urban planning decisions. These cities would be in much better shape if they lost 40 or 50% of the population. Big cities in the United States have a lot of problems. That's obvious. It's not just the policies and who's running the show. Overcrowding plays a big part. If you have more people, you have more crime, more traffic, higher costs, the list goes on. But in short, more people means more problems. So we're looking at the most overcrowded cities in the US. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Berkeley, California. Living in Berkeley, California is like being in a perpetual state of choosing between yoga classes and a political protest. Sometimes you just roll out your mat in the middle of a rally and save some time. Berkeley played a big part in the whole hippie movement in the 1960s. The hippies are still there, they just don't wear beads, sandals, and tie-dye anymore. Berkeley is home to the oldest University of California campus and the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. These institutions attract a large number of students, faculty, and research professionals to the city. Now, back in the day, the 1960s, Berkeley implemented policies that significantly limited new housing construction, with a real focus on not having any apartments come there. Well, this move, coupled with the increased enrollment at the university, led to the replacement of older buildings with larger apartment buildings. This is obvious the closer you get to downtown and the university. Now, this just isn't Berkeley's problem. You got Oakland right next door. It's almost as crowded. And of course, across the bay, you have San Francisco. I've been across the Bay Bridge towards San Francisco a few times, then back towards Berkeley and Oakland. Yeah, it's a little ridiculous. Got some serious traffic on that bridge. The first time I crossed that bridge was in the 90s, so this is quite some time ago. I think I could have jogged across the bridge faster that day. Now, the population density of Berkeley would probably be a little bit lower if a good portion of the city wasn't taken up by the Berkeley Marina with Cesar Chavez Park, the aquatic park, and of course UC Berkeley. Overcrowding in Berkeley is primarily due to a combination of factors involving the housing market, population dynamics, and the urban planning decisions. The population density in Berkeley is 11,917 residents per square mile. Number 9, Newark, New Jersey. Living in Newark, New Jersey means your state bird is an airplane and your morning chorus is the sweet, sweet sound of a jet engine revving up for takeoff. Newark is part of the New York City metro area, so like every place there, it's completely crowded, elbow to elbow some days. A lot of people will live in Newark if they have to go into the city because it's cheaper in Newark than living in the city. They just gotta drive over there, take the train, whatever. Newark is also home to one of America's busiest container hubs and the country's second largest port. It handles millions of trade transactions annually, generating significant business income and tax revenue. So they're not getting rid of it to put up some more condos. There's a lot of things that come into play when you're looking at why Newark, New Jersey is so overcrowded. One, it's, like I said, more affordable than living in New York City. This draws a lot of people in. And then of course you have the traffic of those people trying to get into New York City. About a third of the city is taken up by Newark Liberty International Airport, the Port Newark, and a big golf course down by the airport. Newark, in my opinion, is like the worst airport. Now, I haven't been through there in a few years, but I've heard it's gotten so much better. If that's the case, congratulations, that place is horrible, or at least was horrible. Next time I go back, which should be in September, I will let you know. If you've been there recently, let us know in the comment section below what you thought of Newark Liberty International Airport. After many years of losing population, Newark in the last 2 decades has been going up. In 2010, they gained 1.3, and in the 2020 census, they gained 12.4%. They dropped about 2% during the pandemic, but things look like they're growing again. Currently, Newark, New Jersey has a population density of 12,908 residents for every square mile. Number 8, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I like Philadelphia. You just got to stay out of the wrong neighborhoods, and it's actually a really nice place to visit, especially if you're a history buff. What I love about Philadelphia is the cheesesteak. Cheesesteaks in Philly are like opinions. Everyone's got one, they're all different, and somehow, some way, every single one is the best they've ever had. Philadelphia is obviously known for its historical significance and a mix of modern and traditional settings, attracting an influx of people. Philadelphia's overcrowding is largely influenced by its growing urban population, significant portions of low-income residents struggling with housing costs, and a shift towards a rental-dominated housing market. Not many people buy homes in Philly anymore. Overcrowding is taking a toll on traffic and pollution in the city. Philadelphia is actually the 9th most congested city in the U.S. One of the most crowded neighborhoods in Philadelphia is the men's jail. Yes, the second most crowded thing in Philadelphia is the women's jail, followed at number 3 by the schools. Currently, Philly has a population density of 11,936 residents per square mile. Number 7, Chicago, Illinois. Chicago, Illinois has become a BYOBB city. Bring your own body bag. Chances are you're going to need it. Really, if you go to the south side, your chances are way higher than any place else in the city. In Chicago, the only thing more unpredictable than the weather is why we think standing in front of a bean-shaped mirror for photos is the peak of tourism. Chicago is famous for its diverse neighborhoods, cultural institutions, and iconic landmarks like Wrigley Field and that silver bean. Chicago is a major economic hub with an economy that spans finance, technology, manufacturing, and a whole bunch of other things. It's great for people looking for jobs, actually. Like many major cities, Chicago has always experienced urbanization, with people moving from the rural areas or smaller towns to the city for better opportunities and, better amenities. Chicago is a very old city and it is built up. Far too many apartment buildings and government housing, which are always at the peak of population density. One of the bigger problems for Chicago is the amount of people that live in each house or apartment. The average home in the United States has 3.2 people living in each. In Chicago, it's 5.3. When you look at the apartments, the US average is 2.2. In Chicago, it's 3.4. So they're packing a lot of people in a lot of areas. Currently, Chicago has a population density of 11,936 residents for every square mile. Number 6, Santa Ana, California. If you ever spend any time in Santa Ana, you'll realize that rush hour isn't a time of day, it's more of a lifestyle. And that they have all 4 seasons: wildflower season, wildfire season, mudslide season, and earthquake season. It's nature's way of keeping you on your toes in Santa Ana. Santa Ana and the entire area around here has a high immigration rate that tends to have more overcrowded houses. I mean, the entire state of California is a significant magnet for international immigrants, contributing to their higher population densities and increased demand for housing in urban areas like Santa Ana. Santa Ana also has some of the highest housing costs in the nation, which leads to more people packing into houses, multiple generations. 3-bedroom apartments with 8 people living in it. Santa Ana isn't as built up as some of the other cities on this list. I mean, they don't have a whole bunch of high rises. They don't have a whole bunch of giant office buildings. They just got a lot of people crammed in houses and apartments. Currently, Santa Ana has a population density of 12,186 residents per square mile. Now, there's a little thing to that. That's what the city of Santa Ana predicts and what California predicts. Census has it a little bit different. The difference is California and the city of Santa Ana have a pretty good idea of how many undocumented people are living in their city. The census doesn't normally guess. Number 5, Miami, Florida. Miami, Florida, it's one of those places where you really don't have to add the state, sort of like Chicago or Los Angeles. Miami, you just say Miami, everyone knows what you're talking about. One of the best things about Miami is the only difference between summer and winter is in Miami, you put a poncho in your car just in case during the winter. Clearly, the warm, sunny climate year-round is appealing to many people, especially retirees and those looking to escape the colder climates. Snowbirds, we've all heard the term before. A lot of them that can afford it will end up in Miami. Miami has never had a down census. They've always gained population. Since 1910, they have only had 3 census where they didn't grow by double digits. 80, 90, and 2000, they were all under 5%. But still, they grew. And if you're growing like that all the time, you get a little crowded and your population density goes up. Now, one of the biggest reasons Miami is considered overcrowded, well, because it is. It's got a high population density and the influx of people, both the snowbirds, celebrities, which, there's not a bunch of those, but a lot of them live here. And then, of course, you have different immigrant groups coming from places in Latin America and the Caribbean. This has made the population grow rapidly. They've got infrastructure problems. They need more schools. Their roads need to be worked on. Their traffic is getting worse every single year. They have too many high rises. That's, my opinion, the biggest problem, especially as you get closer to the ocean. And it's also crowded with tourists. Now, it's always tourist season in Miami. So it's almost like they've got an additional 50,000 to 75,000 people roaming the streets that don't live there permanently. They're just there for a few days or a week or whatever. Currently, the population density in Miami is 13,046 residents per square mile. It's a lot. Number 4, Boston, Massachusetts. Boston, like Berkeley from earlier, is a big college town. They have colleges everywhere around Boston. This brings in new people all the time. Students, faculty, research people. There's a pretty good turnover, so this raises the prices on rent and everything. The cost of living is pretty high in Boston. Now, Boston is out of room. They don't have much room to grow, so the city's got to start growing up, which means more people. They've got a lot of historic sites too, so it's really hard for them to build enough housing. Tourism significantly contributes to the crowded streets throughout Boston and the Boston metro area. Boston is a center for healthcare, education, and finance, bringing a pretty good workforce to the region. Traffic is horrible in Boston. Every year they come out with different rankings. Since I've been doing these lists, Boston always shows up someplace in the top 5. Normally it's like number 2 or 3. Currently, Boston has 14,345 residents per square mile. Number 3, Jersey City, New Jersey. Living in Jersey City means your morning commute is a competitive sport and your car's horn is your most practiced musical instrument. And in this part of the country, the middle finger is a perfectly acceptable morning greeting. Texas has howdy and y'all. New Jersey has the middle finger. If you ever meet someone from New Jersey, or especially Jersey City, make sure you ask them about The Sopranos. They are all well-versed in it, and they love to talk about The Sopranos. So do yourself a favor. Talk to a New Jersey person about The Sopranos. Or Snooki. I'm totally kidding. Don't do that. You might get that morning greeting. Jersey City is just like Newark. It's in the New York City metro area, so it's going to be crowded. It's going to have traffic. The thing is, they're actually closer to New York City. Like right across the Hudson from Lower Manhattan. Jersey City is also a major transportation hub with extensive ferry, rail, and road connections, including the PATH train system connecting to Manhattan. Accessibility makes this an attractive place to live for commuters. Because of its popularity and, being a little bit cheaper than Manhattan and being so close, space is limited, contributing to the sense of being overcrowded. Currently, Jersey City has 17,720 residents per square mile. Number 2, San Francisco, California. Yes, San Francisco is crowded. Every house there is like a 3-story house, and there's usually like 4 units in it. They were making condos before condos were cool. Now, before you correct me, yes, there are some neighborhoods where it's not like that, but a majority of the place, there's not just one family living in a piece of property. San Francisco is like an evil unicorn. Finding a unicorn is rare and it's magical, but finding a real one just baffles you and makes you wonder what went wrong in the world. San Francisco is not a great place to live. Out of control homeless, out of control crime, but it's still one of the most expensive places to live in the country. It's like an evil unicorn. It's where you go when your life doesn't make sense. Things are falling apart, your life just isn't going right, you feel you've made some horrible decisions, you go to San Francisco and go, you know what, I have my act together compared to these people. I would like to point out that one of my employees is from San Francisco and her eyebrows are up around her hairline right now. Don't think she's a fan of what I just said. So, despite a high cost of living, many people are drawn to this city. And it's a great place to live if you work in tech, finance, tourism actually. Healthcare's big here, banking, well I guess that's financing, but you know what I mean. San Francisco has a lot of people living in a small area. It's constrained by water on 3 sides, leading to limited land expansion, so they've just had to build up over the years. The traffic and parking in San Francisco is insane because it's overcrowded. That's a big problem. Not like you want to park your car on the streets in this city anyway. Currently, San Francisco has 18,808 residents per square mile. All right, if you're thinking about moving to one of these cities or any place in the United States, there's a link for a website called Home and Money in the description area below. They can get you in touch with a real estate agent anywhere in the country. Their website also has a whole bunch of other stuff to help you in your home buying journey. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, New York City, New York. Again, no reason to say the state, everyone knows where New York City is. New York City has a long history of being an entry point for immigrants, and this has caused a huge housing shortage, leading to vertical development and high real estate prices. And when it comes to tourism, it's the world's most visited city. So yeah, they're overcrowded, ridiculously overcrowded. Traffic is horrible, the streets are packed, everything's far too expensive, and currently they have 27,547 residents per square mile. Ridiculous. Still a beautiful city and a great place to visit. All right, that's today's video. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.